everyone. As per usual, I wanted to let you guys know I am not an expert on psychology. Now, I wanted to recover the anxiety while driving issue again because one of the people who watched the video commented and said that her anxiety actually comes from outside factors more than herself. She said that it's the fact that they have previously been in a wreck before, someone they love died from one, or a partner or a parent yelled at them while trying to learn. This got me thinking about these types of factors. For some that have witnessed a car accident, it can be very stressful on your psyche. In some cases, this can terrify you from ever wanting to drive because that thing could happen to you. This is a pretty common thought with seeing any kind of accident. It is not restricted specifically to car accidents. One thing I would like to stress is death is always a scary thing, and unfortunately, we are not getting away from it anytime soon. You shouldn't feel weird because you have been through this, but I would suggest that you should try to move past it if you can. There are so many things that are a lot of fun or are usually safe that you may never experience due to this kind of fear. This doesn't mean that anyone should force you to do anything if you don't want to do it, though. I have learned from my own fears that usually small fears, like for me, the fear of bugs, can be broken from outside factors. However, more ingrained fears like this one should not be pushed. Now, to cover the parent/partner aspect of their statement, this makes complete sense to me. If you are trying to learn/do something and the person who is supposed to be teaching or helping you freaks out, it will scare you and make you hesitant to try again. I actually can relate to this in a simple part of my life. My handwriting is really bad. It has been bad ever since I was a kid. I remember one day I was trying to practice writing better, and a good friend of mine made a comment about it. She said, "Don't bother with your handwriting. It's so bad you should just be a doctor and you don't have to worry about it." Now, this comment I'm sure was made in jest, but ever since, I have made no attempt to improve my handwriting. Now, I can imagine how a more extreme thing, like driving, can be even worse. Depending on the situation, it can define how you look at such a thing. Everyone's first attempt at driving is far from good, but if you don't have someone who is supporting you and is understanding, it will impede you from learning. Now, if you have someone who is yelling at you or freaking out at everything you do, you could get this mentality that you're not doing it right and you never will, so why bother? This is what happened with my handwriting. Unfortunately, you might run into situations like this, and the only thing I can suggest is continue to try that thing. Now, you will have to find a motivation that will make you want to do this thing. It has to be strong enough that it can push you past your self-doubt or fear of that thing. I have never had this motivation with my handwriting because I learned how to type as an alternative. Right now, there really isn't an alternative to driving that isn't costly or time-consuming like public transportation. I know that it may not always be the healthiest of motivations or reasons for doing something, but I have done a few things in my life out of spite. For some, this kind of motivation is one of the most powerful things for them. When someone says you suck at something, get better at it and shove it in their face. Even better than that, you can shove it in their face and then say you don't even need them to be better at it. This reasoning should only be used in good circumstances, though. Don't jump off of bridges because your mother says it's dangerous just to prove her wrong. My first experience with driving wasn't very good. I actually almost crashed my stepmother's Durango into another car. I managed to press the brake about a foot away from the car. My dad, who was in the passenger seat, jumped out of his seat in an attempt to press the brake with his hand just to avoid the accident. He then told me to get out, and he drove instead. It was very embarrassing, and I felt really bad. My dad gave me a hard time about it for a while, but the next time we went out, I showed him how well I could drive after some practice. Sometimes the best thing to do is ignore the peanut gallery. You will make mistakes in your life. Some of them will be pointed out to you by these people. Some of these complaints might come at a higher volume than others. It may be hard, but try to focus on the voices that are positive. If one person rides with you and is making comments the entire time, but you've had other people in your car that don't make any comments, more than likely that one person is just a vocal person. This doesn't mean that the vocal person is right just because they are the only voice you hear. It just comes down to the other people that you interacted with thought you did well enough to not deserve any criticism. Now, to anyone who is scared to drive due to having a bad first teacher or first experience and you want to learn, I would suggest a couple of things. First, find a big open area that you can bring a vehicle to get comfortable with. The main reason I almost crashed the first time I drove was because I didn't understand how power steering works. I didn't know where my wheels were turned, so I thought I was going to go straight, but clearly was wrong. If you can bring your car somewhere away from obstructions, it allows you to get used to braking, accelerating, turning, and just the core parts of driving. Once you get more comfortable with these basics, you can add obstructions for different scenarios. The second thing I would suggest is find a good, patient teacher. Someone with a lot of driving experience is going to guide you a lot better than a fellow amateur. You will also want them to be calm so they don't freak out, which could then cause you to freak out. One of my exes was not the best driver. She had been in multiple minor accidents. Since we dated, I helped with her driving, and I don't believe she has been in accidents since. With her, I wasn't even necessarily trying to teach her how to drive. I think subconsciously she watched how I drove and learned. The third and the most important thing is to do what makes you comfortable, like I said earlier. If you are forced to do something, even if you succeed in driving, you might not want to do it, and you could run into these issues that I described in the last video. This goes for anything, even beyond just driving. That is all I do have to cover for this video. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe so others could possibly get help through my videos as well. I hope you are all being safe out there. Thank you for your time, and as always, be careful but not scared.